Have you ever wondered how to light a YouTube video? When it comes to filming for YouTube channels, many people have many different setups, and there are loads of ways to go about it. You can do 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, window light. There are so many options available to all of us. Now, I'm into my light. I love light. I love light. Light is, for me, probably one of the most important parts of photography and cinematography, and mastering that will really enhance your work. And I knew when I started my YouTube channel, long term, where I wanted to take it and what level of production I wanted to create for it, and I'm now at that point where I'm able to do that. So this video is just basically going to show you my YouTube setup. Basically set up my lights to be able to make the videos that I make and create the cinematic effect that I'm trying to achieve, because that's what it's all about. Cinematography, any good quality motion, a lot of it is about, you know, leading the mind, leading the eye somewhere else by the use of light. And being able to do that in a YouTube video and understanding some principles of light will really help you enhance the production of your video. And when people click across your video, they go, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. I kind of want a piece of that. So what I'm going to do is just explain what I've got going on and what it is I've got going on and why. I think it's really important when it comes to using equipment is always the why. You know, why do I use that? It isn't a case of me just throwing loads of light, you know, and being like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. They all serve a purpose and they all complement each other beautifully. The biggest bit of advice I could give anybody getting to grips with lighting would be 1 light at a time. Don't start with a multi-point setup, because you will soon kind of get to a point where you don't understand where any problems are arising from. One light at a time, and when you master that, move on to adding another light. And then obviously beyond that is looking at things like your audio quality and how to control it. So in terms of what I've got going on, I have what would be called a 4-point light setup. So in front of me here, I have a 90cm softbox running from a Nanlite 4s of 300. So that's creating a really soft, broad light, and that's what we call the key light. Okay, so that's angled just off of me slightly to create a little bit of shadow across my body, so there's added depth to this whole image. Now if I wanted to, and for a lot of YouTubers, you know, you can operate with 1 light, and I'm going to show you what that looks like now. So this is now just a 1 light setup, and I'm using a key light. This will do for a lot of people in YouTube, and there are many people in YouTube that will use this setup continually throughout their whole career. But the problem with this is you only have 1 source of light, so you're kind of then maybe relying on the space of the room or the lens's ability to create depth. Every time you show somebody a still or show somebody motion, you're always trying to trick the mind that there's depth there to make it seem as realistic as possible. Keep people looking at it a little bit longer because they're intrigued, it's more realistic, they can relate to it. So what we would do in that sense is I would then look at creating what we call a kicker. So this is our key, behind us is the kicker. What this is doing is this is creating a kick of light on my shoulder. And this is adding separation. So the key light is lighting me, it's also lighting some of the background, but now we have this light behind me doing this. What I also do with the key light is, because I'm using a yellow backdrop, what I probably want to do is create a whiter light. So that was orange originally, so I'm now going to cool the light down, and that white light is going to be better separated on my shoulder. So you can see now I stand out a little bit more. So this would be what we call a 2-point light setup, and for what I'm trying to do on this channel, a lot of the time this would be great, but I've got this table space in front of me where I want to be able to show products and go into details. So the one thing I needed to do, provide another light source into this area here that doesn't conflict with my key light or conflict with my kicker. So what I've done is I added what could be known as a hair light or another separating light. I don't call it a hair light because I have no hair. This light is coming over from my left shoulder and it's lighting this space here. So as you can see, I'm going to light this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away the kicker. So we remove that one from the setup now, and I'm also going to take away the key. So you can see here that my hair light or separating light is coming in and lighting this space in front of me. So if I want to bring focus to this area here, I can drop the lights and we can focus just on here. And that's a great way in cinematography to bring real focus to a specific part in a scene or a subject. Because we want it all to be lit at certain points, we're going to need to bring them all up. So as I go back into 1, I bring my key light back up, probably about there is great. I then will add my kicker, as we've spoken about already. This is a 3-point light setup and it's looking good. I'm quite happy with this, and I would be very happy for this to be the end point of the production. But beyond that, what I wanted to do is I felt like my backdrop just wasn't getting the attention that it needed to. I've gone out of my way with this really bright yellow backdrop and this blue table. You know, I want to be able to show it off as best I can. So what I have over here to my right, again lower down, is another light source with a lantern, a fantastic light source when you're trying to create an even spread. So then what I do here is if I add this lantern, you can now see, probably a bit too powerful, you can now see the impact that has on the background for me. So all of these lights combined create this treatment, and for me, when I started my YouTube channel, this is the level of production I wanted, because you know, it's eye-catching, it draws people's focus to different parts. And of course I want to educate you guys who, you know, come back to my channel time and time again and show you what is possible, you know. And you've had a demonstration of being able to see what you can do with 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 lights, and I think, you know, by adding lights or making use of available light, you can really enhance the quality of your production. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you this whole setup from behind the camera, just so you get an idea of what's going on. So here is the space, and I'll walk you all the way around it so you can see it from this angle, just so you get an idea of the space. Show you from my perspective what we've got going on. So we have over here is our key light, as I mentioned, and this is a Forza 300, this guy here. Now this is a COB LED, it's daylight balance at 5600, really easy to navigate. It's at 14% and you can see how much light is being thrown down here. So, and we're using a 90 centimeter parabolic, which is nice and deep, keeps it really soft and flattering, which is good for this kind of production. So that's the key we spoke about. Then we head over here and we basically show you the kicker, or the separation light. So this is a Pavo tube 15C or Pavo tube, and it's using the grid and egg crate. This basically is protecting the spill. So if I was to turn this around here on the wall, you can see the spill that we're getting. This channel of light that we get here focuses just on me and creates that separation. And I've got that sort of a cooler temperature because obviously it's bicolor, it's HSI, so it gives us the ability to dial in different colors. So I have it cooler in comparison to the background and the rest of these lights we've got set up here. So that's me separated. So these ones, this one and this one, are my lights really for me. They separate me as a subject. Then we have this one over here, which is our hair light, or another separating light, or a focus light. This is about what's on the table. If I turn this off, you can see the table, it loses it a little bit. If I move it a little bit, you can see, there we go, we're moving that beam. This is about the focus being on what's on the table. So we've got me covered, now we've got the table covered, and very similar to the grid we've got over there, we have this. We have a hard reflector and a grid. This basically is channeling that light into a concentrated pool, meaning we get less spill here and less spill here. What it also does, because it's a hard source of light, we get these dramatic shadows, which is good, because if I'm giving attention to something on this table space here, the shadow makes people sort of look at this area here. If I pull this phone, look at it, all of a sudden there's drama and excitement in this space here, as opposed to it being one flat, clean light. So this is complementing this, and this guy is complementing this one here. Then I spoke about my backdrop. What I've done with this lantern is use these breakers. Just put you down 2 seconds. I use these breakers to separate this light source. And what that does is it gives me the ability to, it controls it and concentrates it to this space here. And because it's got this circular pattern to it, and I'll remove this, if I take all this off, because it's got that dome shape, or that Chinese lantern, that sort of shape to it, it means you get an omnidirectional source of light, which means it's very flattering in all directions, as opposed to this, which is very flattering in one direction. This is very flattering in multitudes of directions. That's what we mean by omnidirectional. So you kind of get an idea of what's going on with these light sources. Now, what I'm going to do, jump back into the camera, and I'm going to show you how they all look one by one. Now, I know from experience, light is a very scary thing for a lot of new photographers, cinematographers, and also experienced cinematographers. It doesn't have to be, you know, light is very simple. A couple of basic principles. Light only travels in straight lines, okay? So if we can control it, we know exactly where it's gonna go. You know, the larger the light source, the softer the light will be on the subject. The smaller the light source, the harder the shadows will be on the subject. So if I show you all of these one by one, you will get an idea of what they all look like. This is my background light, gone. This is my focus light or separation light, no longer exists, it's gone. This is my kicker light. I'm going to remove my key light. So this is my backdrop. I'm going to pull that up and you'll start to see me being silhouetted. It's a very soft light source. The silhouette is hard, but the light behind me is soft and balanced, okay? So we'll pull that up to about there. Happy with that. You might start to see some of my face because of the spread that the lantern creates. Then I'm going to add my spotlight to the table. Now this is a hard light source. In comparison to the background, check out the shadows that this is creating on this surface. This is a hard light source in comparison to our key light, which we'll switch on in a minute. Then we move to the next one, which is my separation light, okay? So pull this up again. Here we go. So I'm now working on a 3-point light setup, but these aren't really benefiting me because there's no key. There has to be something keying the subject into the frame. This is where this light comes into, and that's my light setup. As I've said before, you can just use one of these lights, and if you are going to use one of them, I would suggest a large light source like this guy. In terms of the light sources that I'm using at the moment, Forza 300 with a 90cm parabolic here. That's my key. My kicker is a pavo tube, 15C with the egg crate, channeling that light to separate me from the backdrop. My focus light is a Forza 60 with the Bowens adapter, using a old Bowens reflector with a grid to focus efforts and attention into this space here. And then my last one here is another Forza 60, and that Forza 60 has a Chinese lantern or a lantern attached to it to create a spread of super soft light onto my backdrop. So yeah, it's really interesting timing because obviously Pete McKinnon put one out about his new studio space and I was like, oh damn, the guy beat me to it. If you look at people of that scale and degree in terms of where they are in their setup, like this is a long-term goal for most new starting YouTubers. My advice, if you are brand new to this whole YouTube thing and you want to increase your production value and make your videos stand out, go with this. One light source, one key, and you're covered. This will serve you purpose for many, many, many years. As ever, it's been amazing seeing you on this channel. Hit the subscribe button and I will see you all next time. Take care.